Welcome to Magical Aspirations, a podcast for magical people, where we aspire to gather all of the knowledge magic has to offer, a place to illuminate and demystify all things magical. Good evening, magical people. Annalisa here. I've got Reverend Raven and Adriana joining me as always. We had just a totally different thing planned for tonight, but I woke up this morning with the inspiration and the real airheadedness that we needed to talk a little bit about, like protection and grounding. We talked about it a lot in our last episode, if you tuned in, where we talked about divination and kind of all things down that road. But protection's really important. One of the people that I actually learned a big protection tip from was Adriana. A couple of years ago, she posted just a little short story about just covering your head and how sometimes things like that can really make a big difference. And today was one of those days. I started feeling like an airhead. I lit a bunch of sage. I put a hat on my head and I felt a lot better. So ladies, let's talk protection. I want to talk like practical tips. What do you do when you're feeling like a total airhead and you just need to go get your feet in the dirt?
Let's talk about it.
Yes, let's do it.
Yes.
So Annalisa, have you actually covered your head?
Absolutely. So after I saw that video, I went and bought just a little baseball cap. And I'm not one, I've never really been a hat guy or anything like that before, but you said that and I was like, you said it in the right cadence of words and it clicked in my brain, and it very genuinely makes a difference. On days where I tend to always have either rocks in my pockets, bracelets on. I have a little labradorite and little mirror pendant that I wear religiously every day. Those are my biggest things of protection. But the hat comes out. It's actually for all my Avatar nerds out there. It's got a little white lotus tile on the front. And so like, it's not a showy about it, but if you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
Nice. I am a big fan of head coverings for sure. I'm currently wearing a moose over my head, actually a polyester moose head with antlers, because I felt like I needed to wear something a little bit silly and stop taking myself so seriously. But also pretty much any time that you see me outside of work, I am wearing a head covering of some type. I have a couple favorite hats that I rock, especially if you see a Reverend Raven out in her straw cowboy hat. It always has feathers and pins and things like that on it. It's an extension of my personality for sure. And then I like to wear bandanas just to cover my head in general. Do that a lot, obviously, when I'm working out to keep the sweat out of my eyes, but also because I really feel like it helps to protect me from, absorbing negativity and, just energies that I don't really want at that time.
Yeah, same. It if you don't think it makes a difference, I definitely challenge you to try it out. Just test to see how you feel at the end of your day after just covering your head. I think the proper witchy term is veiling, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm sure some other cultures will call it some other things, but that's what's coming to mind now. But it's so important for me, especially when I got a big day of readings, or I have a day where I know I'm going to have to make like a lot of decisions that may be impactful to not only myself, but maybe a couple of other people. So like in work and things like that. But then also on days when I'm dealing with my family, it's so necessary because family is family. Everybody's got a little chaos in their family. And so I think being able to cover my head so that I don't just soak in everybody's juju is honestly key to my mental health. Yeah.
I feel that so hard. When I first earlier this morning when I texted you guys about this, Becky came back with about protecting yourself to be your most authentic self. And I think that that's just so important. I have a tendency to soak up what other people are feeling or experiencing like really, really easily. And it's hard to be yourself when you don't know if what you're feeling and what you're experiencing is yours or someone else's. And so it is just so important. So this is something we're going to harp on, guys, for as long as Magical Aspirations is going to be a thing, just about the different things of boundaries and protections, that they're really, really important. Other than head coverings, what's your like first go-to protection thing, that like if you're stressed out or you feel like something, like not necessarily like under attack, but like if you feel like this morning, like I just kept saying that I've been really airheady lately, what's the first thing, Becky, that you go for?
I would say a grounding stone. I'm a fan of carrying rocks around with me in my pockets, and at work I have 5 different stashes of crystals and different stones, but they're all ones for specific purposes. And so I'm a big fan of just holding a grounding stone in my hand. And that might change from day to day, which one it is that I feel like I need in the moment. But of course, like smoky quartz is always a really good choice. I really like your black tourmaline. That's my big protection stone. And actually, whenever I worked in a different job at the main hospital emergency vet, we had a little name badges where you had key cards. And actually, on my name badge, I had a black tourmaline that was wrapped in copper that I would wear because I felt like it would protect me from absorbing all of the energies that were around me. And even though if it's not something negative, I think that it's really important for you to have just a bit of a shield. Like everyone doesn't deserve to be all up in your space, just because even if you like them, you should have your own little barrier of, how close people can get to you. And that means energetically too. So I feel like that's my biggest thing with protection is trying to do it like getting ahead of the game. So like you said, setting boundaries of like, this is where I am, and then you stay over here. And then that way I'm not as likely to absorb all of, like you said, the chaos and energy that are coming from different areas. I feel like that's really important. Especially how we've been talking the last few weeks about being authentically yourself and like letting your freak flag fly and just being who you are. While sometimes that can be kind of scary. You might be in a situation where you're worried to be who you really are. It might be, that you're in danger or you're going to be persecuted or risk of being physically harmed. And so, how do you handle those situations where you feel like you can't 100% be yourself? So one thing that you can control is having your spiritual protection on board.
Absolutely. That was very well said.
Mhm.
One of my actual first crystals that I go to for protection is Amazonite. Um, Amazonite's a big one for integrity. And I keep that near me because kind of Becky, like you were saying, when if you get like influences on you, or not influences, but like people butting up against your energy sometimes, like Amazonite helps me know that this is mine, and what, that's yours, like you said, you keep it over there. And it's also a throat chakra stone, which that is, I have trouble voicing boundaries, so I keep Amazonite near to help me make sure that my boundaries have integrity and that there's integrity in literally everything I do. Adriana, do you have a crystal, like a random non-black or gray crystal that you lean on for protection?
Absolutely. I have, ever since I got my pre-night ring from Royal Street Stones, I have been hooked to that thing. And it was just hiding underneath the register. And I looked at it and I was like, you're coming home with me. And it really helps me a lot, especially the fact that I wear it on my middle finger, on my right hand. And so there's a lot going on with my right hand. It's my dominant hand. So it really helps to kind of just like sink me into myself instead of feeling like I'm flailing with 8 arms. And then I also am such a sucker for labradorite. And I know that's like typical, but she
I
gets
am
me.
such a lab. I feel you, girl.
She gets me so much. But strangely enough, I haven't been gravitating toward my crystals lately. So I think we're just like on a break. Um,
Can I
yeah.
say the same? Like I I mean, I've talked about it a bunch on this show for sure, but there have been a bunch of days lately that like I have, like I said, my labradorite pendant and my mirror that I wear every day. But there have been a bunch of days lately that I've walked out of the house with no bracelets and maybe only like one rock in my pocket. And it tends to be it's this yellow fluorite big ass palm stone that I have.
Oh,
Yes.
yellow fluorite.
Yes. I have definitely
Yeah.
been doing that too. It's really odd that you say that because it's super weird. I always have on a necklace, at least one. I know I talked about that when we were talking glamour magic with Cheyenne, that I always wear necklaces, and a lot of times I'll wear earrings and things like that. But I've been, showering and running out the house without grabbing them. And I I have been feeling like airheaded recently too. I have felt scattered. And, obviously I can function without wearing a necklace. Like it's possible, but it's, part of my normal routine that I like pick which necklace I'm going to put on as I'm getting ready. And it is part of my protection routine. I'm picking the necklace that's going to help guide my energy for the day. I realized that, and today I made sure that I grabbed a couple different necklaces so I could carry the energy throughout. Whenever I was getting ready this morning, still thought that we were going to be talking about myths tonight, and I was like, man, I need some inspiration because I don't know what I'm going to talk about. So I grabbed. I have a Freya pendant, and I have the rune Ansu's. And that is a really cool rune. I actually won this in a raffle, this necklace. But basically, it is a representation that spirit is within you. It's the letter or the word for God. But the interpretation that I have read and what I resonate the most with is that God is within you. So I have the power to carry spirit with me no matter where I go. I can channel messages and I can have the inspiration from spirit. It's already within me. So this necklace is a reminder that I can access that information.
Ashe, ashe. I love that. And like it's interesting that all of us have been resonating with like not really gravitating towards our crystals, but what makes me think about somebody I heard, they said something about why are we mining so deeply for our crystals? Like don't we think that the earth still needs her children? Doesn't she still need her crystals? And it's making me think about like maybe we need to give the earth back her crystals. So that's been an existential crisis that I've been going through too.
How fast and like that God, what an interesting thing, because like I said, I went to on a trip a couple weeks ago and I went to a crystal shop and I know that there is this clear quartz that I'm looking. I it's the picture is so perfect in my head, and so like everywhere I go I'm like, if there's a shop I'm going to go and check it out. And I only bought these little teeny tiny Herkimer diamonds for my plants and like a couple bracelets, and like I bought a bunch of other stuff. So like how and surprisingly enough, I bought bells for protection and three little tiny pieces of art that
Yes.
are all hanging in my home for protection. Mm,
Yes.
mm.
Yes. And that's right, you said bells,
Mm.
sound and like just like shaking my body, that's what grounds me. That has been my go-to thing because I don't know. I know there's like the whole science behind like moving your body, getting the energy out, blah, blah, blah. But sound, like I will hum because it creates a vibration and it's a lovely sound. Or I will like clap my hands or just like stomp my feet or like literally shake my whole being. But that has been the key thing that keeps me functional, I guess is the best word that I can say. That and just like taking a shower has been my go-to.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you say that about like singing and dancing and moving your body and things like that, because I have found myself like singing and dancing so much more in the last like few weeks, last couple weeks, and it's interesting because I have had in the past a limiting belief that like I don't have a good singing voice and I'm not a good dancer, so I just, like, don't typically do those things, except for if it's, like, karaoke and everyone's being loud and obnoxious or Rocky Horror Picture Show, so it doesn't matter that I can't sing very well. It just, whoever's the loudest is the best. But I found myself, like I said, in the last couple of weeks just singing and dancing and just trying to connect with the vibrations of the sounds and the music and feeling that within my body, that is what is giving me like you said, like that grounding and peace. Like I need to burn that energy and that chaos feeling that's been going on, and that seems to be like the only way to get rid of it right now.
Mm, that,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and it brings to my mind the idea around how we've been so sedentary. Is that the word? How you say it? Yeah, sedentary for the past couple of years with quarantine, and how not only have we been stuck in place, but we've also been experiencing grief on like a massive level. And probably now it's just like sinking in the weight of everything that we've been experiencing. And so it makes sense for us to like want to be able to like, I just gotta fucking shake it off. Just gotta shake it off. And you might not even know what you're shaking, but you know you gotta do something.
Definitely 100%. It randomly out of nowhere started raining really, really hard today, and I'm really glad I was home for it. I immediately went go stand outside on my porch. And as I've mentioned before, that I am trying to work with connecting with the native spirits that are on this land. And I know they were definitely indigenous people, and I kind of just like found myself doing like with the rhythm of the rain, the sound it was making, these little like side steps, and I was like, "Oh, okay," and just kind of started like going with it, and then I actually ended up having this like really powerful conversation with those spirits. A healer that I worked with recently was able to connect with one of them, so I already kind of had a pre-existing visual-esque, but there was this really beautiful moment where like I was just standing with like my hands to the side, and we were all of whoever, all my spirit council, we were just like making a circle because I smudged my house really big today, and I like relayed my like boundary lines of my property of protection. Like I'm talking like Harry Potter wands in the air, Protega Maxima, the lights are sprinkling all over the sky, like that type of me and the storm worked together for that today. And that was such a grounding thing. Like to be able to connect with knowing that the earth needed the rain so badly, and the rain was going to wash away all of the bullshit that was laying on top of it, but then nurture and bring forth things upwards as well. I needed that so desperately today. So everyone, weather magic, work on it, because that was a very powerful thing today, that like just it was the rain and the sound, it was the most grounding thing that I probably could have had happen today.
Mm.
So first thing, Annalisa has the best porch to be at whenever it's raining.
I do.
Yes. And second thing, did you go out in the rain?
I did not. I was trying to clean my house a bunch today, and I didn't want to track any dirt back in my newly cleaned
Ah!
house, which so I just like
Fair.
stood on the rug on the porch, but
So
but I thought about it. I thought about it.
So next time, you should definitely just go out into the rain and let it just wash over you. I feel like we have this conception of I'm dry and I'm wearing clothes and I don't want to get
Mm.
wet. But once you like get past that and you're already wet and you can just have that like freeing feeling of being like, I'm just soaked. I actually had that happen whenever we were in Florida when we were trying to record the podcast and the sky decided just to open up. We were rushing around trying to like get all of our camping gear up in the trunk and load it up, and it was too late and we were soaked, and I was wearing my straw cowboy hat and some jean shorts, and I was drenched to the bone, but I couldn't get any wetter. I was already wet. And I had such a great time just like walking back and forth in the pouring down rain and the storm. And it was pretty magical.
I will definitely do that the next time. There have been a couple of moments there. One specifically jumps out. One of my best friends in the whole world. We've been friends since we were 5. We went on a nature journey. I couldn't even tell you how long ago, and we went on this crazy trail, and there were a bunch of challenges, and we probably should have turned back, but we definitely didn't. We were like, no, fuck it. We're just gonna keep going forward. We will not be stopped. We will do all this. And then it started just like torrential downpouring, and we walked for a long time, and it was actually a really beautiful experience. But yeah, I will need to do that in my big beautiful backyard, definitely.
Adriana, when was the last time you played in the rain?
It was actually very recently. So it was maybe a couple of weeks ago, actually. Yeah, it was a couple of weeks ago. Spirit had actually just like woken me out of my sleep, and they were like, get up. No, not really, but basically it was really early in the morning, which is normally when I do my prayer anyway. And so I woke up and I did not know it was raining, and it was pouring. I was like, okay, let me just go out here. So I went out there, and I didn't really feel like talking. Like normally I have like a lot of gratitude to give, and like people to pray for, self to pray for. But in that moment, I just wanted to let the rain do the talking. And then from there, I was just like, I want to go touch it. Let me go touch it. So I went outside and I just stood there. It wasn't like a dance moment. It was more so just like experiencing what it feels like to have all of this water just pouring over me. So yeah, highly recommend.
Oh, that's really cool. Definitely a good way to ground. The next we've talked about said the word a few times, that just prayers. So protection prayers. Is there a specific prayer that either of you have that you find that you lean on in moments of need or protection?
Go on, get.
All right, guys, that was the podcast.
All right, that's it. We're gonna wrap it up tonight.
I like to keep shit simple. If I'm
Yeah.
too wordy, like it means I'm overthinking things, honestly. So I just like to try to keep things simple. If I need to say a protection prayer, or if I feel like there's something, looking over me, malevolent, and just try to keep it short. I do ask my ancestors for protection, help with that. Specifically, my grandfather, he's the one that always looked out for me and whenever he was alive, sorry. And when he passed away, he actually left the gun that he used to sleep with under his pillow to me. It's a little raven. It's a black it's a it's a little black raven. And so there were so many times whenever we were out, and it was a gun that he would just carry on him, and to make sure that he was safe and that I was safe. And funny story here, whenever my dad passed away, he was the gun fanatic, put it lightly that way. And my brothers were going through all of the guns because it was a big concern of his that he wanted to make sure that they didn't end up in the wrong hands and be resold and things like that. And I told my brother, the one that was in the Marine Corps, he was kind of like in charge of going through all the guns and everything. And I was like, I would really like to have one of his guns because it means a lot to me that it was his, and it would help me to have something of him with me. I've taken a lot of shooting safety classes. I have concealed carry permit, things like that, so I'm very safe with the weapon and everything. And my brother, without knowing any better, hands me the white raven. I shit you not. And I know that you guys aren't super familiar with guns, so it's just this really tiny handgun. But Raven is the brand name of it,
Mm.
and the guns were made maybe just a couple years apart from each other. One is black and one is white. So
Mm.
I call them Heenan and Munin after Odin's
Love that.
ravens.
Love that.
So anyway, my story, the point with that is that I call on my ancestors for protection, and I know that they're still looking over me now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Same. I keep it short and sweet. Protect me from things known and unknown. But also, this has been like a recent development, whatever. Over the past year, I've been specifically focused on a spirit blanket, is what I like to call it. So you know how people will say, like, imagine a white bubble around you, or imagine a glass bowl or something like that. Mine has been a spirit blanket. And I've had a conversation with my guides around, like, spirit blanket has everything that I need plus some. It's nourishing. And when I envision that it's being wrapped around me, I know that everything is good, kosher, safe, all that. And so whenever I like need that upliftment or I'm walking into a situation, I'll just say, you know, I'm covering myself in the spirit blanket. And so that's been what I do. Mm-hmm.
I love the visual of that because I have one of my mama's Afghans that, like, technically my little sister took it from their house, or it was hers, and we lived together for a bit. And when I moved out, I just real casually took it and now it's mine. But it's my favorite blanket because I can remember being like a little wee tot on a day that my mama came and checked me out from school and wrapping myself up in this little Afghan. It's like a random color with, it's like a Christmas scene with like people on a sled. It's the most random blanket, but it's my favorite. Oh,
Yeah,
protection spirit
same.
blanket.
Yeah. And it's like, it's a thing. It's a whole thing. And especially when I'm in meditation, when I'm trying to like get into the vibe, I'll cover myself with a spirit blanket and all of that. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. I never thought about it that way, but I do have a blanket that my grandma had made. Actually, whenever she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and she couldn't go and shop for us for Christmas presents, I told you guys about the cookbooks that she made. She also made blankets as well. And so they kind of like fold up into like a little pocket. And so it looks like it's a pillow whenever it's folded up. But it's like a really thin fleece blanket, but it has bears like in the woods, and it's a really cool scene on it. And it always makes me feel like super safe whenever I have it. And I also have my great aunt's shawl as well, my old lady shawl. So I wear that whenever I'm doing ritual because it helps me to connect to the ancestors. But I literally feel like it's protecting me with their love and their thoughts and connecting me to their spirits. So I love the blanky thoughts.
Yeah, and because that brings up a whole other topic that I really wanted to talk about too, is that, so obviously when we talk about protection, like, it's so easy to visualize things like a fortress or like really solid walls. A lesson that I learned many years ago was about making sure that your shield was still at least penetrable to the things that you still want to let in. Like, that it's important to not have a completely solid barrier, because then nothing gets in, nothing gets out, and there is still exchange that needs to be made in the world. We are still humans, like, or and to connect with things that still needs to. And a blanket is such a good visual for keeping out the cold, but, like, you know, still being able to like regulate your temperature in a good way, but like the spiritual version of that. That's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that, because protection, yes, it does still need to be penetrable. And I think that's why I value protection layering so much. And why, like, yes, the visuals are great, the crystals are great, but also for like heavy duty stuff, I'm gonna do a fucking ritual or like have some wards set up around my house or in my car or wherever, or my wallet even, because sometimes I may forget my spirit blanket or I might forget to put my crystal on, but like I still got this anchor of a ward protecting me. So highly, do y'all do layering? Is that a thing?
I was gonna say that, like, I don't know why. I guess I subconsciously do, but I'm gonna make a note about that because that is,
Yeah, I definitely utilize layering with protection, but kind of like do it in stages too. So, like, I've done a lot of protection on the homestead, for example, but then, each day, whenever I'm washing my face and I'm putting on my moisturizer and I visualize that as my protection, that's an example of each thing that I do, I'm layering that protection.
Absolutely, absolutely. Which brings me to a question. Has there ever been any instances where you noticed that your protection wasn't working, and like how did you know? How did you know?
That's a very
oh,
good
for sure.
question. Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
times, unfortunately, there have been instances where I felt, like Annalisa was saying earlier, airheaded or disconnected, disjointed, things like that. I know every time that I lose my train of thought, I'm not under spiritual attack. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that, but definitely have been in situations where I'm just like walking down the street and get a bad vibe, things like that. And I'm like, oh, I need to do some protection right now. So in that moment, again, like we were saying, Adriana, keeping it short and sweet, like something that I'm like praying to my ancestors to keep me safe with whatever's going on. I will change my demeanor. I don't know what I look like to other people, but I envision that I am invisible if I am feeling vulnerable. So I will, in that moment, just envision that nobody can see me. I change my posture. And, normally whenever I walk around, my shoulders are up high, I'm confident, I'm loud out there. So even just by changing like how I walk and everything, I can get people to stop looking at me. So those are all things that I've done in a situation where I felt unsafe.
Yeah, I've said it before for sure that like I call on Saint Michael the Archangel pretty frequently. Um and I can certainly feel when he's there. There have been moments, especially recently, that I've been by myself and like not in danger, but like just on guard. And like I imagine that people can see that he's with me. I've read accounts that like people have reported that that is something that happens. And so like that's something that I can really cling on to, that like if I'm alone, I'm not alone. Um oh, I had another train of thought and now it's gone.
That happens to the best of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
As we're literally talking about being airheaded. So there
Yeah.
you go, people.
Something that just popped into my mind as we were talking, this will kind of jump back into the spiritual blanket analogy where we are protecting ourselves, but leaving ourselves open enough to receive that we can connect with others. I was watching this cool video today from the fabulous New Orleans hair witch, Catherine Lane, who was one of our first guests on the podcast. And she was talking about the difference between paranoia and pronoia. So I've never heard of that term before, but basically, instead of you're always concerned about what's going to happen to you, what if you open your eyes and look for those miracles around you? Instead of when you're paranoid, you're thinking like something bad is going to happen all the time. With pronoia, you're looking for those positive things that are happening, around you all the time. And so by shifting your mindset, you're perceiving threats differently as well. So I'm not saying that you're just going to think that every person on the street is going to be your friend. But if you go in as thinking like every person that's out there is going to try to hurt you, you're going to be putting off energy that encourages people to attack you. You are looking like the victim already, even though you haven't done anything. So you're making yourself a target. So I feel like part of it is in our outlook and our attitudes towards things. We can make ourselves stronger in that way, like through our attitudes and how we carry ourselves. We can protect ourselves by having a more positive outlook.
I definitely agree with that. But then there's like this other part, like the nuance in it around like the history behind like what we look like and our identities and society. So there's like, I don't know, I can't even like put it in words what's coming up for me, but I can like feel it in my body. And how I totally agree, but then also like just being a Black woman, I can't just manifest it away. I can't manifest how people are going to approach me away. And I think that's why I love protection magic so much, because yes, it's a real thing that we have to deal with, but like being able to feel protected and know that my protection is working really helps me to also be confident in myself. So I think there's like, at least for me, being in a marginalized body, like having a balance between the two, and definitely not paranoia is not the word, but like having a balance between expecting the world to just be like, woo, but then also knowing like shit sucks. So I guess that's where I'm having this like torn feelings about that. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, totally
Totally.
understand what you're saying there. And that you obviously have to protect yourself, against the things that are there around you. And all of us too. But like I was saying earlier about with the freak flag and everything else, there are some occasions that it's not safe for us to fully express ourselves. And I would have had been in the broom closet for a long time, at least like professionally, because I was concerned about the ridicule that would come from it. And basically, what I did is I had to change my space. Like I moved somewhere that it was more acceptable for me to be who I was, because I felt like no matter what I did, where I lived before, I always was having to be this muted version of myself, that I couldn't fully express myself and be who I was. So like in that occasion, I had to change something about my life to be safer, to be able to, be more authentic and things like that. But obviously, Adriana, you can't change the color of your skin. Like that's not something that you can just up and be like, oh, today I'm not going to be Black anymore. Like, so I totally understand what you're saying. And it is a different perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I do definitely agree with the like being able to change your environment, changing your space, and how like that's definitely important. And if you're able to do that, do it. Do it. Change your whole world if you are unsafe. But yeah.
Well, because that's the whole point of what we're doing here, is that we're trying to encourage everybody to, like Becky says, let their freak flag fly, so that way we can hopefully get to a point in the world where like that shit doesn't matter. Like we can just
Right.
be our most authentic selves and not have to protect ourselves from that. Like how unfair is it that like no matter what your thing is that there's just so many people out there who can't be authentic. Looping back around to kind of some different things that we do for protection. I kind of wanted to touch a little bit about on like burning herbs responsibly. I know that that's a big thing that the sage conversation has been very large lately, just with like trying to be respectful to what that means to the indigenous community, and that it is starting to become endangered because people have gotten really frivolous with it. What's an herb that you guys turn to instead of sage. It's so readily available, so I know people lean on it so easily. But like me, for example, rosemary and bay leaves are in literally everything that I do.
Those are good.
Mm.
Those are
Yes.
good. Yep. Those are
Yep.
good. I like cedar a lot too. I've had
Ooh.
some bundles that are rosemary and cedar together, and those are a super cool combination in my mind, because rosemary a lot of times is associated with cleansing. So that's why
Mm.
it's obviously good for protection, but it's cleansing the space. And then your cedar is more has more like earthy fire energy. So it's gonna like burn the shit up that isn't supposed to be there. And then, like I said, then the
Mm.
rosemary can come in and, you know, just cleanse the space. So using different herbs in combination, I think, is really important, because you can layer, like Adriana was saying earlier with protection, you can layer by using different herbs together. You don't have to be limited to a sage bundle.
Absolutely. I agree. Cedar's a really good one. And I love rosemary. I also really love juniper. There's juniper everywhere in the South. I don't know about anywhere else because I don't live there, but at least down here we always have some. And then I also really like cayenne pepper. It's really easy to get.
Oh,
Okay,
I've never thought about cayenne.
do you burn it? Do you burn cayenne?
I'm gonna burn everything. I'm gonna try to see what happens. I've tried to burn
Okay.
it. It didn't really work. But even just like sprinkling around your property a little bit,
Yeah.
just to ward. I mean, it's a fire. It's spicy, so it, like you
Yeah.
said, it's gonna burn some shit up.
Right.
And it's really easily accessible because you can just get it from the grocery store, or you can grow your own, which is always gonna enhance your herbs is if you grow your own. Okay, so that's side note.
Mm.
Yep.
So cayenne, juniper, and valerian root.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that I wasn't expecting myself to like that one so much because it stinks so bad.
Hmm.
But I love it.
It
I
has
love
some
it.
good energy. I the
Oh.
valerian root and rue are two things that are like
Yes.
this. You look at it in the baggie at the store and you're like, oh, what is that? It's ugly. It smells bad, but it's gonna get rid of some shit that you don't want around.
And I love a multi-purpose plant. So if you
Hmm.
can't sleep, valerian root is gonna knock your ass out. I love it.
Oh, yeah. I knew about valerian root for sleep, but I didn't realize for that. And like, recently I've been trying to figure out why my house has felt so sleepy lately. And I've been burning lavender like a motherfucker. Like, oh my god, how silly! I need to get some cayenne pepper up in here.
Oh yeah.
Wait, stop. You want to talk about so my husband is out of town right now. And just a couple days ago I got an Amazon package with his name on it and I was like, "What is this about blah blah blah." And I open it and it's literally a bottle of Korean red pepper flakes. Like
Yes. Yes. So,
Absolutely.
okay, now you just sparked something in my mind because you know that my husband is an amazing cook. So we have tons of herbs in the kitchen, spices, seasonings, all that. So we don't have like magical herbs and cooking herbs. Like I just go in the kitchen and be like, all right, what do we need today? I'm going through his peppers and, you know, going through all of his cooking herbs, and that's what I use.
Yeah, I mean, like the kitchen is the heart of the home, so of course you're just gonna,
Absolutely.
yeah, just go in there. I used to didn't. Wow, my South is showing. But I would never separate them. But I guess since I like have a shop, I had to start separating my herbs.
Mhm.
But just for myself, yeah, like if that shit is in the cabinet, I'm just gonna grab it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's helped me to like figure out more intuitive uses of herbs, honestly, because like we've
Mm.
talked about before, like with crystals, I'll just like go over to the bookshelf and be like, what do I need today, and pick it up. That's what I do in the kitchen. So I'll go over and be like, this one. And then like, why am I drawn to this for this purpose? And then I can look it up later. But it's pretty cool because I've learned a lot about herbs because there are just so many things in the kitchen that we have here already. So I'm like, what is this for? How does this make me feel? Like, is this a protection herb, or is this a cleansing herb, or is this a grounding herb? And just like feeling the connection with the plant.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, because like it's just like with the crystals, how black tourmaline may be really grounding for you, but maybe for somebody else, it may make them feel like a fucking alien. So you got to know how the plants react with you too.
Speaking of that, I just looked down and I have a piece of black obsidian sitting on my desk here, and talk about something making you feel like an alien.
Yeah, obsidian makes me feel cuckoo.
Yeah. And it's one of the few, it's a lava rock. So it is formed literally from fire. It's like molten. And then whenever it cools, then it turns into this rock. But the energy of it is just always moving around like so much. It feels just like so chaotic. But you would think because it's a black stone, oh, this is for like grounding and protection. Well, it definitely doesn't ground me. Maybe it couldn't protect
Yeah.
me because there's a bunch of fucking chaos in it, but the energy is like, ooh, I definitely can't carry that in my pocket.
Yeah, that's how I feel about amethyst too.
Yeah, that's a big gun that I use for like when I need to be protected for tapping into the other side when I'm looking to talk to space, Do y'all have any random kitchen witch protection things or like herby things just since we're down that route? I'm thinking about how I mentioned bay leaves, and one of the best tricks that I ever learned, and I want everybody to know, was that if you take a bay leaf and if you want something, you write it on that bay leaf and you burn it. Bam. You just brought it to you. Like instant protection, like instant manifestation. Use bay leaves, people. You want to talk about something that every good Southern cook worth their salt has in their kitchen? Bay leaf.
You better preach, girl.
I was like, hold on, you didn't enunciate the word bam right. It's bam.
I know Emerald would be so sad. I'm so sorry. I do that. I also throw salt in my laundry, especially when I do my sheets. Bam, bam. You get up in there.
Ooh, I like
That's
that.
nice. I like that. I'll do vinegar for that, but I like the salt. Yeah. Lemons. Lemons are always good for cleansing. Always good for cleansing. And when you cook, you just want to just say like, okay, yeah, let me just sprinkle this basil and bring some money in.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely do that whenever I'm cooking. It's like I said, I just like connect with the herb and be like, oh, I want to add this in, for a certain magical purpose. For sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love
In your tea, in your coffee. Like,
yes.
Yeah. Gotta do what you can with what you got.
Maybe I'll start putting some cayenne pepper in my coffee.
Oh, girl.
Don't do that.
I was gonna say that sounds like something I would do. I'm not sure that you can handle it.
No, probably not. I don't know if I have enough fire in this chart to handle cayenne pepper in the coffee.
Oh, girl. I made this tea the other day. I got a berry tea blend from the co-op, and it's just like all of the different herbs and fruits and everything dried and mixed together. And I made it in my little K cup, like the refillable K cup that I usually make coffee in. And I filled that little bitch up, and it was so fucking strong. I had to cut it 4 times with cold water to be able to drink it without having immediate heartburn.
Talk about powerful.
I was like, whoa, I wasn't ready for that. I'll have to find out what's in it. I know it's like, well, it's like hibiscus and it's like a bunch of like berry flavors and rose, but it is not meek. It was like, boom, I am right here.
Third eye must have been like throbbing. Like
I was almost embarrassed about it. I was telling my coworker, I was like, oh my God, I have heartburn from this tea.
I don't know if I've ever had a tea that strong. I guess I might not be doing it right.
Yeah, girl. I'll hook you up. We'll throw some cayenne in your coffee next time I come up
for real.
there.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
Then we'll go dance in the rain and we got to pick up that deer carcass.
That's right. I was thinking about that today.
We got to keep it weird. Yes, keep it weird.
Right. Witch things all day long. Oh, my witchy cohorts.
Yes.
My goodness, I can't even speak.
Cohorts. You know, that works.
I know.
Cohorts.
Well, I guess maybe cohorts. That does work, doesn't it?
Yes. Meeting people like you, it pulls at the hairs of my heart.
It does pull at the hairs of my heart.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Do we have anything else we want to talk about protection? We've got maybe about like 10 or so minutes left if we so choose.
I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I got all of my notes scratched off.
Girl, I couldn't even make notes. I am so illuminated right there. I couldn't even make notes. I'm so airy fairy bullshit right now.
Well, I blasted the hell out of this house today, so I needed something. So
I have to share something with you. There is a really cool albino salamander, I believe, outside of my window. He's running up and down on the screen because I have the light on, so the bugs are, all over here. And he's just running around outside. It's really cool to watch him.
You're going to have to take a picture of that if you can. I want to see that.
He's cute. My window screen is dirty, but yeah, he's enjoying the light on in here because the bugs are coming over to it. I love watching those little guys. And they try to come into the house, but I'm like, but the bugs are out there. You need to stay outside.
The bugs are out there. And the dogs will catch you in here.
Exactly.
Protect yourself. Stay outside. Oh, ladies. Well, I guess is that Becky? Is that any other? Just the albino salamander?
Just the albino salamander. He has an important lesson to share about. I don't even know. I was gonna say about protecting yourself, but he's definitely not. He's just running up and down the window, and he's really cool. He's just living
the bugs.
Yeah, he's just living his salamander life, and it's cool because they, to me, represent both fire and earth energy. So it's cool to watch him, like, as he's like running up and down the window, he's like a little flame, like he's like vroom, up there really quickly, and then he'll hold still, while he's waiting for the bugs and everything. So it's really cool to watch him. And then his cute little feet are like suctioned to the window.
Oh, well, and I guess if he's an albino salamander, then he has no choice but to be himself. He can't really blend into the background, can he?
No. He's letting his freak salamander flag fly.
That's right. We all need to strive to be the albino salamander, but to protect yourself while doing it.
Right. So stay outside, guy.
Yeah. Oh, my magical people. Well, on that note, we are going to say good night. Thank you all for tuning in and listening to this chat about protection. We hope you have some valuable tips to take away from it. A couple housekeeping notes before we walk away. Go ahead and leave us a review on your favorite episode on Spreaker. We're really intrigued to hear feedback from everyone. It helps us know kind of which direction we want to keep going in. You can also rate us if you're listening on Spotify. Give us a 5-star review if you come back every week and enjoy listening to us. We really want to kind of get the Magical Aspirations name out there. So do what you can to help on that front. Follow us on all of our social media. Check us out on our website. The website is still a work in progress, but it's pretty bitchin' and much more to come.
Yeah, and I would just encourage everybody, if there's an episode that you really resonate with, please comment. Give us your feedback about it. This episode, for example, if you have certain protection techniques that you really like or something that we didn't talk about, like please post that. This is a place for everybody to learn. So please just share that information.
100%, please
Absolutely.
do. We want to hear back from you guys.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, on that note, ladies, let's magically say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Everyone, stay magical.
Stay magical.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Magical Aspirations. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Magical Aspirations to keep up with the latest and the greatest from Annalisa, Adriana, and Reverend Raven, and to join in on the Magical Aspirations conversations. Come check out our website, magicalaspirations.com, to find bonuses from our guests, our Magical Aspirations blog, and to reach out to our magical hosts with questions, comments, reviews, or ideas for future episodes. We are so grateful for each and every one of you listening. Thank you again, and as always, stay true to your magic.